right now, let's talk about project triple constraints. Okay, let us understand what we are talking about when we are saying that project triple constraints. So there are some key constraints that we need to know. Number one, there is an issue to do with scope, right? So when we are saying scope, this is defined as work required to achieve project objectives. So the task that you are supposed to do in order for you to achieve that particular project, that is scope. Okay, there are some challenges associated with scope. The challenge that is there, it is scope creep, right? So scope creep is where that is whereby there are some tasks are coming in while the project is what in progress. So those tasks which are coming in as the project has already started, those they can cause delays as well as they can raise the cost of the project. Okay, another key constraints, it is time. So time, we are talking about the duration through which a particular project is supposed to be done. So we are talking of the time. So we are talking of schedules as well as the deadlines. Okay, let's talk about challenges associated with time. Task delay affecting timeline as well as quality. So sometimes due to some other factors, task might delay, and that one might affect the deadlines as well as the quality of the project. Another key constraints, it's cost. So if we're talking about cost, that is financial resource for project completion. Here we are simply talking of the budget, right? The budget for the whole project, it's the cost. Let's talk about challenges associated with that one. So there might be some budget overruns due to poor planning and unforeseen issues. So by the end of the day, your planned budget may rise, right? Due to poor planning or some unforeseeable circumstances. Okay. Um, right now, let us look at project management triangle. Project management triangle. So project triple concentrates, these are just the same as project management what triangle, because there are three things, right? You can see here we have got time, we have got scope, as well as we have got cost. So all these three things, they affect the quality of the project. So that is what we can see. So here they're trying to give us the definition of cost, as we have already said, scope, time, right? Then here there is a definition of quality. So quality, um, we need to understand that there are quality standards for every project. Whenever you're running a project, you need to understand that each particular project has got its quality standards. So here, this particular statement is trying to say that if the scope of the work is increasing, the cost and the deadlines must increase as well. So let's say you had a project, that particular project, for you to complete, there are some 5 tasks to be done, right? So in that particular 5 tasks, you have added another 2, and there are now 7 tasks. That means because you have added the task, likely the cost the cost for that project is supposed to increase, right? As well as the time, also, as well as the time is also supposed to what to increase. Are we together? So that is how these three things, they affect project at the same time. Once time is increasing or is decreasing, definitely the scope and the cost is also supposed to be affected. So the effect on one triple concentrate is supposed to affect other factors. Okay, let's talk about strategies for managing scope. So for you to be able to manage scope, number one, you need to define clear objectives. So you should use project charter, right? So project charter, that is where you are trying to define your objective, right? You are defining your goal on that one. So you use a project charter to align with all stakeholders. That means you're going to manage your scope. Okay, another one, you should use what we call work breakdown structure. So here it's where you're trying to break all the objectives into small tasks, right? So once you are able to do that, you can be able to manage scope properly. Another thing that you should do, you should control scope creep. So you should avoid those works which are just coming in while the project has already started. You should try to avoid them as much as possible. Okay, another one, you should engage stakeholders. So here you should with the stakeholders you should prioritize essential task collaboratively. So you should agree on which essential task you're supposed to do for that particular project to be done as the stakeholders wants. Okay, let's talk about strategies for managing time. For you to be able to manage time, you need to create a detailed schedule. So how can you create a detailed schedule? You are going to use Gantt charts as well as network diagrams. Another one, should set realistic deadlines, right? So you should include buffers for critical tasks. So for example, if we're talking of including buffers, for example, you know that this particular project or this particular task can take me 1 week, right? Then you're saying, but sometimes I'm not sure because there might be some other things that can affect us within the project. So I'm going to, on 1 week, I'm going to add the next 3 days. Then you're saying this particular project is going to be done in 1 week and 3 days. So that 3 days is acting as a buffer. Okay, another one is that prioritize task. So on that one, you should focus on those tasks which are on critical path. So if you look at your network diagram, right? When you're looking at your network diagram, you need to find out the critical path. So you should focus on those tasks which are on the critical path to avoid delays. Another one, you should monitor progress. So each and every time you should use project management software for you to track whatever you are doing. So another one, you should do regular communications. So here it's where if there are issues, please make sure that you are able to communicate those issues in time to the stakeholders. Okay, let's talk about strategies for managing cost. Number one, on that one, we need to develop a detailed budget. So that particular budget should have even contingency, that is 5 to 10%. So that whenever there are some unforeseeable circumstances, you should be able to cater them. Okay, another one, you should monitor expenses. So on that one, you should be able, you should use budget tools to track spending in real time. So you can use things like Microsoft Project, Excel, Trello, all those things can be used at that particular moment. So another one is you should control resource usage, right? So make sure that you are controlling your things. You shouldn't just waste your things anyhow. Make sure that you're controlling your resources within your project. Another one, you should be able to negotiate with vendors. So whenever you have gone to the market, right, make sure that you are able to negotiate with the the vendors, so that the cost should at least be minimized. Okay, another one that you should do, you should adjust plans as needed, right? So whenever there is need for relocation of funds, if there is need for that, some funds should move from one task and beef on the other task, please make sure that you are able to do that. Otherwise, the cost might rise. Okay, let's talk about balancing the triple constraints or managing the project triangle. Another one, you should prioritize objectives. So decide whether scope, time, or cost is most critical. So you should make sure that you are able to make that decision. Another one, you should be able to communicate trade-offs. So discuss impacts of changes with the stakeholders, right? So if we're talking about trade-offs, let's say in your project you're supposed to increase some tasks, right? So you need to first to understand, are those tasks very critical? If those particular tasks are very critical, that means within your project you should make sure that you remove some tasks so that you can accommodate that particular task, and in that particular way you are not going to affect your budget, because you have just tried to remove a certain task. That means the money for that particular task is going to be used for this particular task which you are trying to add. So the trade-off is where it is coming in, where you are trying to prioritize one objective over the other, because you cannot manage to achieve all the goals at the same time. Another one, Another one, it is risk management. So on this one, you should mitigate risk by planning for uncertainties. Another one, you should leverage technology. So you should be able to use tools like Microsoft Excel, Microsoft Project, and the like, for you to manage all those things: scope, time, and cost. Let's look at this particular scenario, right? Okay, let's look at this particular scenario. You are having a certain fixed budget, right? Then the client is coming in to say, I want you to add this on this particular project. Then you should sit down, you as a project manager, to see that, okay, he's saying or she's saying we should add this one. Let us check within his project, is there anything that we can remove so that we can accommodate this one? So once you are able to do that one, you should be able to relocate now resources. Those resources which you are not going to use, you should take those particular resources and bring it on that particular new things which has been proposed to be added on that one. So that is a trade-off. So that one will help you to ensure that you are always within your budget. Thank you so much.